How does the human spirit, when it's pushed right to the absolute edge, stripped of freedom, identity, hope, how does it not just survive, but somehow, like, manage to find a way to thrive, even liberate others? What does that kind of strength really look like when facing total despair?
Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take some fascinating source material and really dig in, pull out the best insights, maybe some surprising facts, those aha moments, just for you. Today we are plunging into a story that's, well, it's captured millions. A narrative that, even though it's set somewhere incredibly bleak, it just keeps shining this light on the human spirit. We're talking, of course, about the journey in our source material, the Shawshank Redemption, Hope's Enduring Escape.
And our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack all those intricate threads in the Shawshank Redemption. We want to reveal the hidden depths, the themes, and really try and understand why this film, set inside a maximum security prison, still resonates so deeply with people all over the world year after year. Okay, let's unpack this then. What is it really at its core? What makes this story just so enduringly powerful?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it gets right to the heart of what we're exploring. It's so much more than just, a story about escaping a physical building. It's about our capacity for hope, that relentless, almost obsessive drive for freedom in, like, the biggest sense of the word, and the resilience, that quiet, steady resilience that can somehow bloom even in the most desolate places.
Right.
It's just this profound testament to how one person's inner strength can ripple out, affect everyone, and challenge what we even mean by being free.
Yeah.
It really gets into the psychology of being confined and how the human will triumphs over, systematic dehumanization.
Okay, so to really get that journey, we have to go right back to the start, the moment everything changed for Andy Dufresne.
Our source material paints this picture, 1947. You've got a guy who had it all, right?
Right.
Successful banker, VP level, comfortable life.
The whole American dream package, basically. Exactly. And then, bang! He's convicted of this horrific crime, murdering his wife and her lover. And it's not just a conviction. The sources say it was painted as this cold-blooded killing, very sensationalized.
Yeah, and how people saw Andy right at the start is just crucial here. He's facing this incredibly serious charge, murder, looking at life in prison, but he's depicted as, well, remarkably calm, composed through the whole trial.
Keeps saying he's innocent.
Right, claims his innocence, steady voice doesn't waver, and this immediate injustice, this like contrast between his almost unnerving calmness and the sentence 2 life terms, back to back, it sets the stage for everything. It makes you, the viewer, question things right away. Is he calm because he's guilty, like the prosecution argued? Or is it something deeper, like an unshakable belief in his own truth? Kind of resilience most people just don't have. The source material even suggests the jury saw that stillness is arrogance, and that sealed his fate.
And then, just like that, he's thrown into Shawshank State Penitentiary. And the sources, they don't just describe it as a prison. It's like a machine designed to crush your spirit, dehumanize you. It's bleak, brutal, its own little oppressive world with its own rules and rulers who are just merciless. You feel it the second he walks in.
Precisely. And right away, you meet the key figures running the place, the ones who embody that oppression. You've got Warden Norton. He puts on this front of being strict, religious, always quoting the Bible.
Yeah, the hypocrite.
But you quickly sense this deep hypocrisy underneath it all, preaching salvation while he's presiding over, well, damnation, really. And then there's Captain Hadley, the head guard, just a monster, enforces the rules with pure, raw brutality. Violence just to show who's boss.
Terrifying.
The power dynamics are immediate. Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Designed to strip you down, make you just a number. Even the way Shawshank looks, the architecture described in the sources, it's meant to feel like a tomb.
So Andy, this quiet banker, steps into this. You'd think he'd just crumble, wouldn't you? Especially when he immediately becomes a target for the worst kind of abuse. The sources mention the Sisters, this group led by a predator named Boggs. They go after new guys, sexual harassment, beatings. It's designed to utterly break people.
But what's really fascinating, and this is key, is how Andy's quietness, it isn't weakness. It's like the foundation for this incredible inner strengths he builds on. He stays remarkably resilient, keeps his composure, even facing that kind of physical, psychological horror.
He doesn't fight back in the usual way.
No, not in a way that just escalates it. He endures. And that stoicism, that ability to just absorb the brutality without shattering on the outside, it immediately sets him apart from the others. It's this early, powerful foreshadowing of the strength that's going to define his whole time in Shawshank. It signals, to us and maybe to guys like Red, that he's operating differently. He's not just reacting, he's watching, enduring. planning. The source even points out that quiet defiance was its own form of resistance, almost more unsettling to the guys hurting him than if he'd just fought back.
It really does. So, okay, Andy's navigating this hellscape, holding onto that composure, refusing to break. And then, amidst all that darkness, we start to see the first little bit of real connection, the start of what becomes the absolute emotional core of the story, his friendship with Red.
Ellis, Red Redding.
Yeah.
He is absolutely central. He's older, been inside for decades, multiple life sentences. He's the guy, the go-to guy in Shawshank, known for being able to get things, procuring things, as he calls it.
Cigarettes, rock hammers.
Anything, yeah, for a price. But maybe even more important, he's our narrator. His perspective is just crucial because we see Andy and Shawshank itself through his eyes. Eyes that have seen everything the prison can do to a man over decades. He's seen guys come, go, break. His cynicism isn't just talk, it's hard-won. The source material really emphasizes how Red's voice gives the whole film its philosophical weight.
And Red's initial take on Andy, you can feel it, right? He's skeptical, sees him as just another new fish, probably won't last, too fragile for a place like Shawshank. He even bets on who'll crack first night.
Yeah, he does.
But then Andy makes these first requests. They seem so small, almost random at the time, but looking back, wow. First he goes to Red for a rock hammer. Says it's for a hobby, collecting rocks. Harmless enough for an ex-banker.
It was plausible.
And then later, he asks for that Rita Hayworth poster, which ends up being this fixture in his cell for years.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is where, as our source points out, the film plants these seeds of genius, these tiny requests. They look like ways for an educated guy to just cope, right?
Right.
Beat the boredom, hold on to a piece of his old self.
Something to keep my hands busy.
Exactly. That's what Andy says. But they tell us so much about his meticulous long-term thinking, even way back then. That rock hammer, it's not just for chipping rocks.
Yeah.
It's a tool. The tool, actually. The instrument of his escape, eventually.
19 years later.
And the poster. Not just decoration, it's cover. It's a symbol of beauty, maybe escapism, sure, but it's also, as we find out, hiding the secret for almost 2 decades. They're both key parts of this incredibly patient, carefully thought-out plan that starts basically the minute he gets there. Just shows his unbelievable foresight and patience.
It's amazing how those little things become so huge later on. And that kind of leads us into how Andrew starts to gain influence inside. Not through violence, not through threats, but using his brain, his understanding of people.
Right, his financial skills. Something you'd think is totally useless, irrelevant inside a prison like Shawshank. But it actually becomes his biggest asset. The turning point, our source describes it perfectly, happens up on that roof they're tarring. Andy overhears Captain Hadley, the violent guard, loudly complaining about inheritance taxes, how the IRS is going to take a huge chunk of some money he just got.
And it's such a weird moment, isn't it? This quiet guy, Andy, who's just been enduring everything, suddenly speaks up, doesn't beg, doesn't plead. He just offers brilliant financial advice for free.
And Hadley, despite being this brutal, not-so-bright guy, he immediately sees the value. Here's someone offering him a way to keep his money.
That's the hook.
Exactly. That's the pivot for Andy's whole status inside. His useless skill becomes this powerful lever. He doesn't just advise Hadley once. He ends up managing his money, saves him a bundle. And word spreads quietly among the guards.
So he starts doing their taxes, managing investments.
Yeah, helping them navigate all the complex financial stuff. And this slowly builds trust, influence, gets some small perks, better treatment, a bit of protection other guys can only dream of. And eventually, his reputation goes right to the top. Warden Norton himself recruits him.
Which is so ironic, isn't it? This innocent man now working for the corrupt guys who are keeping him locked up. But it shows how smart Andy is, turning things around.
Absolutely. And Norton, as we learn, isn't just strict. He's deeply, deeply corrupt. Our sources lay out this huge money laundering scheme he's running, using inmate labor for illegal profit, skimming off state projects, basically running Shawshank like his own private business.
Wow.
And Andy becomes central to it all, managing these dirty accounts, setting up shell companies, handling the money under this fake identity. Randall Stevens.
Randall Stevens. Okay, remember that name.
Yeah, it becomes important. But this whole situation, it paints Norton not just as strict, but as truly depraved, calculating. His piety is just this grotesque mask for greed. And Andy's forced into it, right? It's morally tough for him, no doubt. But it serves this crucial dual purpose.
How so?
Well, first, it cements his position, makes him indispensable, gives him protection, access no other inmate has. He gets moved to a private office out of the main cell block. But second, And this is Andy's genius. It gives him intimate knowledge. Account numbers, fake names, all the tools he'll eventually use to bring Norton's whole corrupt empire crashing down
Yeah.
and ultimately secure his own freedom. It's this calculated long-game risk with an incredible payoff, turning the enemy's strength into his own weapon.
But Andy isn't just helping the corrupt guys. He's also using his position, his influence, to help the other inmates, quietly, persistently, like the Prison Library Project. He starts this relentless letter-writing campaign, 1 letter a week for years, asking the state for money to expand the library.
hmm And it's about so much more than just books. It's about intellectual freedom. It's resistance, really, against being institutionalized. The sources mention how patient, how stubborn he had to be. It takes 6 years. But eventually, this big donation comes through. Books, records, educational stuff.
And he starts teaching guys.
Yeah, helps inmates get their GEDs, opens up this world of knowledge they'd been denied. It shows he's committed to helping others, not just focused on his own survival or escape. It's like this quiet rebellion, planting seeds of hope and knowledge in a place designed for despair.
And then there's that incredibly powerful moment, the opera moment, probably one of the most famous scenes. He defies Norton, locks himself in the warden's office, and plays that opera record, The Marriage of Figaro, over the loudspeakers for everyone. Just this fleeting moment of beauty and freedom.
Oh, it's beautiful. And if you connect it to the bigger picture, that opera scene, it symbolizes the power of the human spirit, right? The
Yeah.
mind's freedom. It's not just pretty music. It's Andy subtly, defiantly reminding everyone, maybe himself too, that imagination, that's the one prison they can never truly lock down.
Yeah.
For just a few minutes, the guys are transported. They close their eyes, they smile, they remember being alive. It's this infiltration of joy, a psychological win over their confinement. Shows that real freedom starts in your head, long before you walk out the gates. It's hope piercing through the gray walls, a shared moment that reaffirms their humanity.
It really is such a beautiful, defiant moment in such a dark place. But then, as our source material explains, just when Andy's kind of carved out this space for himself, this influence, this hope, we hit this devastating turning point, a glimmer of hope so bright, and then it gets extinguished just brutally. And it starts with a new guy coming in, Tommy Williams.
Yeah, Tommy Williams. Young guy, a bit naive maybe. He quickly becomes friends with Andy and Red, joins their little study group in the library. Andy's helping him get his GED.
Right.
And it's through Tommy that this bombshell drops, the proof of Andy's innocence. Tommy just casually mentions, that a former cellmate of his, a guy named Elmo Blatch, had bragged about committing the exact murders Andy was in for.
Huh.
And Blatch knew details only the real killer would know.
Oh my God, so this is it.
This is it. Undeniable proof. A real legal path to freedom after 20 years of wrongful imprisonment.
You can just feel Andy's hope surge right there. Finally, he can prove it. He goes straight to Warden Norton, expecting justice, right?
Right.
Expecting freedom, vindication.
But what he gets is Norton's ruthless, truly evil betrayal. Andy lays out the evidence, calmly, logically.
Mm.
But Norton, he's consumed by greed and fear. He flat out refuses to help. Why? Because he can't afford to lose Andy, the guy running his money laundering operation.
And he can't risk an investigation shining a light on everything else.
Exactly. He fears exposure, and then the tragedy just escalates horribly. Norton orders Captain Hadley to murder Tommy. Cold blood. They stage it to look like an escape attempt.
Unbelievable.
This moment just reveals the absolute depth of Norton's depravity. It crushes Andy's immediate hope for freedom through legal means. It's not just a plot twist. It's this profound moral outrage. It just escalates everything, shows how corruption breeds pure evil.
And then, to add insult to injury almost, Norton punishes Andy for even bringing it up, throws him into solitary confinement for 2 months. It's meant to break him, isn't it? Crush whatever hope is left, remind him who's really in charge.
Oh, absolutely. Solitary is designed for that.
Yeah.
Isolate, dehumanize, shatter someone psychologically,
Yeah.
leave them broken. But what's fascinating is how this deep despair, this ultimate cruelty, it seems to ignite something in Andy. A radical, unshakable determination.
It doesn't break him.
No. It steels him. It becomes the crucible where his ultimate, incredibly audacious plan gets forged, solidified. It proves that sometimes the absolute worst despair, the most brutal betrayal, can actually be the catalyst for the most radical acts of defiance. It cements that vision of freedom. It's transformation, not surrender.
And this brings us, finally, to the grand escape. This masterpiece of patience, ingenuity, hope, spanning nearly 2 decades in the making. Our source material says Andy's demeanor after solitary was different, more determined and calm than ever. He starts talking to Red, more specifically now, about Zihuatanejo, that place in Mexico.
Yeah, the coastal town.
Painting this vivid picture, fixing up an old boat, quiet life, free from Shawshank's ghosts.
What's really crucial here is that this isn't just some fantasy, a daydream. It's a real concrete future he's been planning for ages. The detail he gives the Wataneo, and it grounds his hope, makes it tangible, achievable. He's not just dreaming of escaping, he's dreaming of life after escaping. And then he gives Red that strange instruction, almost whimsical. If Red ever gets out, go to this specific field in Buxton, find a volcanic rock. Oh, it's a surprise hidden there. That shows incredible foresight, trust, connection. Planning for Red's future, too, even before he's made his own move. His plan included Red.
Wow. Okay, so then comes the morning of the escape, and the source material reveals just the sheer brilliance of this 19-year secret. Andy doesn't show up for morning count. Guards get annoyed, finally break into his cell, and he's gone.
Vanished.
And they find it, the tunnel. Behind that Rita Hayworth poster later, Raquel Welch, right? He'd been digging it for 19 years, hiding the hole perfectly, getting rid of the dirt bit by bit in the prison yard while pretending to garden. That little rock hammer from Red all those years ago.
It's a true purpose revealed.
Exactly, the instrument of this impossible dream.
And what's truly amazing here, what the film just shows so brilliantly, is how the most unlikely tool, this tiny rock hammer, for a supposed hobby plus relentless, unwavering patience, becomes the ultimate key to freedom. It's a testament to the idea that real liberation isn't always about big, impulsive acts. It's about consistent, tiny, incremental effort kept up over an almost unimaginable time. His dedication to hiding that hole, getting rid of the debris piece by piece, it speaks to this unbelievable discipline, foresight, and just sheer, unyielding hope. Imagine the fear, the physical work, the mental strain. But he never stopped. It's the ultimate act of faith in a long-term plan.
And then the final act, the escape itself. Crawling through, literally, a river of filth, a long, disgusting sewage pipe, before finally breaking out into the rain on a stormy night. The sheer awfulness of that escape route, it makes the freedom feel even more earned.
Profound.
It absolutely does. That physical ordeal, crawling through human waste, it's not just practical, it's symbolic. It's like a baptism, deliberately shedding the grime, the corruption, the degradation of Shawshank.
Washing it all away. Emerging into that storm, washed clean by the rain. It's this powerful symbolic cleansing, leaving the physical and metaphorical filth of Shawshank behind forever. He doesn't just escape from something, he escapes through something horrific to be reborn into real freedom. The contrast between that dark, foul pipe and the clean rain in the open air, it's just a stunning visual metaphor for his whole journey.
But Andy's plan, it didn't just stop with his own escape, did it? He made sure justice was served. Not just for him, but for everyone else too. Our source material confirms, before he left, he'd meticulously gathered every shred of evidence on the warden's corruption. He didn't just break out, he broke the whole corrupt system from the inside out. Left this trail designed to bring down the men who held him captive.
Absolutely. And that just shows the incredible scope of his strategic thinking. Mailing those documents detailing every illegal transaction, proof of the money laundering to a major newspaper, that's the ultimate justice. It's not just for him. It's for Tommy. It's for Brooks. It's for every inmate Norton exploited. It shows his planning went way beyond just getting himself out. And the consequences are swift, brutal. Authorities swarm Shawshank. Warden Norton, faced with proof, public humiliation, arrest. He takes his own life in his office. His whole pious act just crumbles. Captain Hadley gets arrested, dragged away screaming by his own guys. Andy makes sure the rot at Shawshank's core is exposed and destroyed. Systemic justice.
And Andy's vanishing act itself is just as brilliant. Another layer to his victory. He doesn't just escape and disappear. He uses that fake identity, Randall Stevens.
The one Norton made him create.
Exactly. Uses it to systematically withdraw all of Norton's dirty money from all those banks. He literally takes back the stolen wealth, funding his new life.
Is perfect poetic justice, isn't it? He doesn't just get free. He reclaims what was stolen, turning Norton's own weapon, that illegal money, into his own resource. Cleans out the accounts, leaves Norton with nothing but shame. And he truly vanishes. Free, funded, and having delivered his own comprehensive, perfectly planned justice. It says so much about his intelligence, his patience, and, his moral compass, even after everything he went through.
But the story, it doesn't quite end with Andy's escape, because his influence reaches out, touches the people he left behind. Our sources talk about Red getting paroled after 40 years inside Shawshank. And it's not this big triumphant moment, is it? Not at first. He really struggles adapting to the outside, highlights that powerful, scary theme of institutionalization.
Oh, Red's struggle is just heartbreaking. It's this stark reminder of how deeply prison changes you, sometimes, yeah, irreversibly. Decades inside Shawshank have literally rewired his brain. He gets out into a world that's completely changed, a world he doesn't get and that doesn't get him.
His little job, the halfway house.
Right, the menial job, having to ask permission just to go to the bathroom, staying in the same rundown place where Brooks Hatlin, remember Brooks, the old librarian, where he killed himself because he couldn't handle the hopelessness outside. It all just emphasizes the deep psychological scars of being locked up that long. Brooks's tragedy is this warning about institutionalization's ultimate cost: losing yourself, being unable to cope with freedom. It shows how your mind can still be a prison, even when the walls are gone. The outside world, the dream, becomes just another kind of confinement.
You can feel Red sinking into that despair, can't you? That weight of institutionalization, just like it crushed Brooks. He's playing by the rules, but there's no joy, no purpose. He even thinks about breaking parole just to go back to Shawshank, back to what he knows. But then something
A
clicks.
spark, yeah.
He remembers Andy's instructions, those seemingly random words about a field. Driven by this tiny bit of hope, he goes to that hayfield in Buxton, finds the volcanic rock Andy described, and underneath, a box. Inside, money, and a letter from Andy inviting him to Zihuatanejo.
And this is Andy's final act, really. Friendship, redemption, not just for himself, but for Red. It's Andy's lifeline. A physical piece of the hope he worked so hard to keep alive. Andy's foresight, his care for his friend, it just shows the depth of their bond and the truly transformative power of shared hope. It's like a lifeline thrown from one free spirit to another, pulling Red out of Shawshank's shadow, out of that institutional despair, and into the light, into possibility.
Yeah.
It says so much about Andy. Even after getting free himself, his thought is for his friend. Remarkable selflessness.
And this leads right into Red's ultimate act of hope, his own personal escape, really. He decides to violate parole, huge risk, federal crime, takes that bus down to Mexico. He chooses hope, friendship, over the fear of being caught and sent back.
That is Red's true escape, not just from the law, but from those invisible psychological walls of institutionalization, of despair that held him for decades. It just beautifully shows that hope is fundamentally an active choice, a courageous one,
Yeah.
even when it's risky. It's about taking that leap of faith towards something better, no matter what's behind you. For Red, it's the ultimate self-liberation, choosing a future he never thought he could have over the, comfortable misery of what he knew.
And then that ending. Iconic. Unforgettable. Red gets to this sunny beach, the total opposite of Shawshank's gray gloom. He sees Andy fixing his boat, bathed in this golden light. Their eyes meet, that hug. Free at last. The visuals alone, that sunny, wide-open beach contrasting with the bleak, closed-in prison, it makes the triumph feel even stronger.
It's the powerful, just deeply emotional finish to their incredible friendship. And it's its profound testament to the enduring power of hope and freedom in its purest sense. That final scene, it tells us that real redemption isn't just about getting out of a physical jail. It's about freeing your mind, your spirit, finding connection, being at peace with yourself and the world.
Finding your Zihuatanejo.
Exactly. Finding your Zihuatanejo, wherever that might be. A place of peace, belonging, earned through all that struggle and resilience. It's just a visually stunning and emotionally perfect capstone to this epic human story.
So what does it all mean then when we put it together? This ending, it's not just about escaping a prison building, it's about a much deeper kind of freedom, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the whole spectrum. Physical escape, sure, but also intellectual freedom, the library. Emotional resilience, facing down abuse. And ultimately spiritual liberation, finding peace, purpose, no matter what's going on outside. And he gets all three. And through his actions, his spirit, his foresight, he helps Red find a similar transformative path. The film powerfully argues that hope isn't passive. It's an active, persistent choice, a driving force that lets you build a future, even when you're trapped in the present.
And that leads us perfectly into the themes that just endure the legacy of the Shawshank Redemption. Our source material points out several core ideas, starting with hope versus despair. That famous line, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. That really says it all, doesn't it?
It truly is the central tension. Maybe the central tension of life itself, right? Andy embodies hope against just crushing odds. It's this quiet, persistent flame he refuses to let go out. He shows hope isn't just wishful thinking. It's this tenacious, almost defiant belief in a future beyond the suffering you're in right now.
And Red starts out so cynical.
Totally. Resigned to despair, the realities of prison life. But he eventually embraces hope, through Andy's belief, Andy's actions. It shows hope isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, an active way you face life, and a powerful force for real change.
Then there's redemption. Andy definitely redeems himself, proving his innocence, bringing Norton down, but does he help redeem others too?
Well, without a doubt. He doesn't just save his own life from injustice. He empowers others to reclaim their humanity. The library, that's intellectual redemption, opening minds. Bringing Tommy's truth to light, that's seeking justice for the innocent, even when it cost him dearly.
And Red.
And most profoundly, giving Red that path out. Literally and metaphorically, he offers Red a chance to reclaim his own life, find purpose, freedom, beyond the weight of institutionalization that nearly crushed him. It's this multi-layered redemption that spreads out from Andy himself, a real ripple effect of one person's integrity.
Freedom is another huge one, explode on so many levels. Physical escape, yes, but also emotional resilience, intellectual freedom, spiritual freedom. Andy seems to hit all of them.
Yeah, the physical escape is the big climax, obviously. But the film goes deeper. Andy keeps his intellectual freedom just by reading, learning, bringing books and music to others. His emotional resilience lets him endure abuse, betrayal, without losing himself, his core. And his spiritual liberation, that comes from his unwavering belief in his innocence, his quiet integrity, his determination to live meaningfully, even in that awful place. He really shows that walls can't imprison the mind, only the body.
And then there's the flip side, that harsh reality of institutionalization. Our source talks about how prison just grinds people down, changes them, often forever. Like Brooks, the old librarian, couldn't cope outside, took his own life. Red himself struggled so much at first, terrified, lost outside the prison walls.
That theme is such a powerful counterpoint to Andy's triumph. It shows how deeply a place like Shawshank can warp you, make the outside world terrifying, overwhelming. Brooks's ending is just heartbreaking, a warning of what happens when you become so dependent on confinement that freedom itself becomes unbearable. Red's initial struggles show that too. The huge psychological effort it takes to shake off those ingrained habits, fears, routines. Andy's incredible resistance to it all, his ability to hold on to himself, his purpose, his hope, that makes his final triumph even more extraordinary, more inspiring.
And holding it all together, the emotional heart of it is friendship, that bond between Andy and Red.
Undeniably the emotional core, the beating heart of Shawshank. It's built on trust, respect, this deep understanding that gets them both through decades of hardship. Andy gives Red hope, purpose, a future. Red gives Andy companionship, a human connection in that isolating place, the vital links he needs. It's just this incredibly powerful picture of how human connection is the ultimate lifeline in the darkest times. Shows that even in the worst place, real friendship can grow and become the source of immense strength and salvation.
It really is just a masterclass in storytelling. And it's funny, our source material notes Shawshank wasn't even a hit at first. Did okay at the box office, but nothing huge.
Yeah, modest opening.
Yet, over the years, word of mouth, home video, it just transformed into this beloved classic. Now it's always on those lists. One of the greatest films ever made. Critics, audiences, everyone loves it.
That journey is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaks to its timeless quality, the universal power of those themes, the strength of the performances. Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman, they just were those characters, brought them to life. What makes a film like this last? It speaks to something fundamental in all of us, right? That desire for freedom, the resilience of the spirit, the importance of hope, the power of friendship. It taps into something deeply human that just resonates no matter when or where you watch it. #OutTry.Grow.
Wow, what an incredible journey we've just taken, back through the walls of Shawshank, really exploring Andy Dufresne's unbelievable hope and Red's final liberating choice for freedom. We've seen how resilience, meticulous, almost unbelievable planning, and just the sheer power of human connection can overcome odds that seem completely insurmountable.
It's a story that really reminds you that hope isn't just, a passive wish, something you sit around waiting for. It's active, persistent, even rebellious. It's a choice. It's a force that can dig tunnels through rock for 20 years, bring down the corrupt, and ultimately free not just your body, but your spirit.
And as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe something to think about. The story of Shawshank shows us prison walls aren't always made of stone and steel. What invisible walls might we, in our own lives be building around ourselves? Walls may be made of fear or doubt or just ingrained habits, limiting beliefs. And what rock hammers, what small, persistent acts of defiance might we need to pick up to start chipping away at those barriers and truly break free?